I'm with Beau Dodson, and he is going to explain how his very special, one-of-a-kind, pretty much, tornado machine works. And I'm going to ask him a few questions. So, Beau, this pretty much is a one-of-a-kind tornado machine.
It is. It is one of a kind. Austin Feathers made it. Austin used to work for SpaceX, and he's an engineer and a meteorologist. And he lives in Colorado, and he built this for the Weather Observatory because he knew that we have a lot of kids that come through here, and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and church groups and adult groups. And so I had messaged on a message board one time that I was looking for a tornado machine. I knew that museums had them, and I thought, well, maybe somebody in the weather community knows. And Austin messaged me and said, I could build you one. And I was like, that's amazing. I said, you don't have to do that. And he's like, I really want to do this. And so it took him about a year, and he built it, drove from Colorado to Kansas City to his parents. I drove from here, from Metropolis, to Kansas City and met him about 7 o'clock at night. And in his kitchen, he had this tornado machine set up, and he's like, here it is. And I smiled so big. When he turned it on and it started producing, I was like, this is simply amazing. I said, everyone's going to love this because I can explain how a tornado forms easily with this. And kids love it, and adults love it because it just gives them a visual, and then I can explain the tornado process, and it just makes it so much easier and fun.
Right.
Fun.
So how long did it take him to build this?
About a year.
Right. Okay. And so how many museums, do you know how many museums around the United States have?
Well, I know the St. Louis Science Museum and the one in Chicago has one. Beyond that, I do not know how many other science museums there actually are. I would think that maybe one in New York City and maybe one in LA, but I'm not positive about that.
But what an honor for you to, in Southern Illinois, to have this.
It is. It's special, for sure.
Right.
It's definitely one of the, when I talk about all the weather and what I do here, and the kids are like, what is that?
I mean, what a great teaching tool, you know.
Really,
I mean, it's so exciting for the kids to go home and tell their parents and go to school and talk about it, you know.
Yeah,
and
it really is. It just makes it easier for me to explain the process because it has a fan at the top which draws air upward, and thunderstorms are made of rising air, so that's your lift. We always talk about the ingredients for tornadoes. You have to have lift to make a thunderstorm, and then you have to have wind shear, and wind shear is the changing of wind direction with height. So that kind of, imagine that in your head, you're changing direction with height, so that creates spin. And then there's also speed shear where it changes speed with height. So we call that wind shear. And these tubes have holes in them, and each tube is turned a little bit different direction. So if you imagine in your head, again, we're getting that spin, and you've got the rising air, so it's rising to the top where the fan is, and that is lifting the air in this sort of like condensation and causing the tornado to form. So this makes it just easy to explain the tornado process. You know, it's kind of a simplified version of it, but that's pretty much the ingredients for a tornado.
right. And so that, like, you know, just looking at a book, it, like, you know, it puts the picture out there,
right.
And, you know, it puts it in front of their face.
Right.
So
Kids like hands-on.
exactly,
and,
exactly.
They can come up and they can touch it and watch it reform. And, you know, tornadoes are fickle. That's why they're only usually on the ground a couple of miles. Occasionally we get some bigger ones. They're on the ground much longer. But, you know, just a little bit of, just a little bit of change in the wind speed, the tornado dissipates. And it's sort of similar with this. It's a very fine process to actually produce a tornado. That's why we don't have them all the time. About 1,000 per year in the entire United States, scattered out, you know, from north to south, east to west, mostly the central and southern U.S.
Right.
But, you know, we have hundreds of thousands of thunderstorms in the U.S. every year, but only about 1,000 tornadoes. So only a few thunderstorms actually produce a tornado. And most of those are very short-lived and what we would call on the weaker end. I don't like to say weak when we say a tornado because any tornado can cause damage, but the lower end on the wind speeds.
Right. Yeah, I know when you talk about tornadoes, you have to be very, very careful when choosing your words.
Right, right. That's
so, yeah. So how long did you say you've had this for?
Oh my. So when did I drive to Kansas City? I've had this at least, at least 5 or 6 years. I can't remember the exact year. I'd have to look back on my Facebook. The
I
time
knew
goes
it had
by
been a
so
while.
fast. These years go by so fast, it seems like. But we've had it for a good 6 or 7 years. We had it at the first or second open house we had at the Weather Observatory. That was a while back. So
Right. I know you've had a lot of groups come through here,
we
and
had a lot of people come through here.
right,
Yes.
yeah, I know.
And I love it. So they
Yeah.
love it. I love it, and I could talk about weather forever.
Right. Have you ever had to have it worked on or anything?
No, thank God.
I know. Knock on wood. I shouldn't even said anything. Oh my gosh, Amanda, hush.
I
Knock on
plug
wood.
it every day so lightning doesn't get it. Because Austin lives in Colorado, and I don't know how to repair the tornado machine.
Right. I can't imagine having to unload that or load that thing up and. Whew.
No, I mean, I could probably figure out how to take it apart. He could probably walk me through it, but I don't want to do that. That would be complicated. And I'm sure
Right.
one day it may happen, but
Yeah.
the
Right.
number of running hours on it is pretty low when you think about it. Because when groups come through, it's the last thing we talk about, so I leave it off until, So if you added up the hours it's been running,
Right. It's not like a television. It's not
Yeah.
like you like turn it on every day and
Yeah.
or a computer.
maybe a dozen or 2 dozen hours total. So that's
Right.
not bad.
So when you plug it in and turn it on, how long does it take to get going?
Right. So it takes about 2 to 3 minutes, and we'll start seeing a little condensation cloud at the bottom, a baby one form, and then another minute or two, and you can get and it's got different speeds on it too. Like I could turn this up, and I even have ear plugs for kids. Because it makes a very high pitched noise. Tornadoes make a very loud noise too.
Sure.
But when this is on full force, it makes enough wind down there that those little trees in that house that it'll knock them around.
Wow. So can you adjust it?
When it gets going, it really can go.
So is that as big as it gets, or can you like make it?
The actual size of the tornado, when I turn it up, tightens up, and it's about the same size, so it doesn't get really wider, but it will get kind of tighter and just really start to rope and kind of make its moves and stuff like that.
Okay.
When it's going, it goes.
So like what? So how is it turned up now? Like.
Yeah, so it's actually, I have an app on an old cell phone because the app doesn't work on my new cell phone.
Oh.
So I have to keep my old cell phone in my backpack and a charger for it. And so it's the only thing I use my old cell phone for.
Oh, wow.
It has a little control on it that goes up and down. I can turn it up, but it might get loud.
Right.
But that's up to you.
Huh. Wow. That's really interesting, though.
It's kind of mesmerizing.
It is really mesmerizing. I know.
You just sit here and just watch it.
Yeah. Well, maybe in a few minutes, we might come back and
Blast it.
yeah, we'll blast it here in a few minutes, and yeah, be like kids and just like let the big dogs eat here in a second.
Let it go.
Yeah, because I just really want to see what it can do. Because I don't think we let it go. Yeah, we'll do that. I want to see. I want to see how big it can get.
I'll give you some headphones. I'll put some headphones on.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. How
You might be
interesting.
able to edit your sound down a little for folks at home.
Right. All right. Okay. So we shall return, and I will turn the volume down, and we'll be back. Bye, folks. See you in a minute. Wow. That is something. Wow. That is incredible. It is loud. It's very loud. Yeah, that's
And it's gone.
that's quite a difference.
Oh my goodness. Actually, it did get bigger whenever we got it really going up there to Cat 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
EF5, not Cat 5. That's a hurricane. EF5.
That really makes it. That's really a difference, though, than how you had it before
Yeah.
compared. Like, what is the difference? Like when you had it set previously.
Yeah. So, and it's the same in the atmosphere. The increase in wind speed, because heard it getting louder. The wind was getting stronger through these tubes. The lift was getting stronger up here, and so the stronger wind shear you have, sometimes the more violent tornadoes. That's one reason we have such violent tornadoes in spring, autumn, and winter. Is the jet stream is much stronger. In the summer we call them the doldrums. I think they're just kind of the dog days of summer. Lazy, the weather can become the same every day. The forecast is the same for 7 days.
Right.
That's because the jet stream just isn't around. It's way up north in the summertime. But in the spring, autumn, and winter, the jet stream is much closer to us and usually goes north and south through our area. If it goes far enough south in the winter, it gets cold here. It goes a little north, and we have a lot of rain and storms. But that jet stream energy is wind speed. That's wind speed in the jet stream. So it's much higher. And so when I turned it up, the wind was getting stronger and stronger through these tubes. And so the result of that was a stronger tornado. And it's really the same in the atmosphere, too.
Wow. Okay. How interesting. Wow.
Yeah, we like the Western Kentucky tornado, the Quad State tornado, the Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky one, Tennessee. That one, on that night, we had very strong jet stream winds. Even at the low levels, it was very strong winds. Sometimes you can have over 200-mile-per-hour winds in the jet stream aloft, and sometimes it's what we call a low-level jet, a few thousand feet off the deck, what I call the deck, the ground. It can be so strong that sometimes during, especially the winter months, you can actually go outside and hear a roar, and that actually is a low-level jet. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes we can have very, very strong winds, even 100 miles an hour, just a few thousand feet aloft, and that can be, you can actually hear the roar from it. So, but oftentimes when that happens, we're in a severe weather threat. If we have winds like that, something not good is going on with the atmosphere. So,
Yep, and it's always the calm before the storm is when when things are going to get really bad.
True. Sometimes it's true.
Yeah.
Well,
especially in through here where we live, it's like as you can tell, I'm
never
kind
a dull moment.
Right.
Now we're waiting on more rain. Although here at the Weather Observatory since June 1st, and now we're almost to August 1st, we've actually had over 9 inches of rain. Some places in West Kentucky have had not even an inch. So a few miles
isn't it crazy?
Insane.
I know.
Yeah, and St. Louis had 10 to 14 inches the other day. Today they've had 3 to 5 inches. That's just crazy. In Eastern Kentucky last night had up to 9 inches. This time of year I always tell people when it rains, it can really rain hard. Gully washers, is what I call them. But feast or famine weather.
Toe
Southern
stranglers.
Illinois has all this rain and is now out of drought. Western Kentucky is still in severe drought. So I call it feast or famine during the
Right.
summer
I go to
months.
work and I'm like, man, we had so much rain last
Right.
night, and they're like,
Right.
what? We didn't have any.
What rain?
I know. They're like,
weather
you're
thread.
full of it. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I promise.
One person on Facebook comments when I asked for rain, was like, what rain? We didn't get any rain. And another person's we got 3.5 inches. And that's the way it is this time of year.
Right.
It's hard to get a general rain, although Southern Illinois seems to be the jackpot for the rain for the last 3 or 4 weeks, really. And Western Kentucky's begging for rain. But sometimes we say in meteorology that drought feeds drought. Sometimes the dry ground can influence the rain that's coming in. It can actually cause it to dissipate. So it makes me wonder if that's what's going on, because it just seems to keep happening in far west Kentucky when everyone else is getting rain. Even like Owensboro's had rain and east of LBL's had rain. But far west Kentucky, it just seems like it keeps breaking up. It could just be bad luck, but sometimes drought does that. And then when you have wet ground, that the moisture, the new thunderstorms kind of tend to go over that wet ground. So it almost seems like that's what's happening. So. Summer.
I know. It's an unpredictable thing. Just No.
But the corn out here looks amazing.
It does. It really does.
Yeah, Lynn Leverkamp is the farmer, and he's always asking me the weather, and I'm always telling him the weather. I'm always telling him, hey, this is how much rain fell at the farm last night.
Right.
I don't know. Your corn looks pretty good to me. I know the hot temperatures and the warm nights it's probably going to cause the yield to be lower, but rain-wise, I can't complain here at the Weather Observatory. We've had over 9 inches. And I'm hoping this couple days we'll get another inch.
Isn't it something how, like, when we were kids, you could run through cornfields? We can't do that now. It's like we would be chewed up by all.
Completely different corn than when we grew up.
I know.
Tell people that all the time we could run through. An interesting fact is that corn sweats. It has a science name, but it sweats, and that causes dew points to be higher, and so it feels much muggier for you and I to live in this area in these fields. Much muggier than, say, downtown Paducah. Our dew points can be 80, 81, 82, 83, which is extremely high dew points. And the dew point is what controls how you feel outside. So if it feels muggy outside, that's a dew point. Some people like to know humidity. You want to know the dew point. The dew point is what controls what it feels like outside. And so all of this corn and all these soybeans makes it feel hotter when you live near a field. For example, we had 2 or 3 days in June and July where we had heat indexes here above 120 degrees, which is crazy. And like the airport probably had around 110 at the weather service, but because of the cornfields, we were like 120 to 124 with the heat index, which makes it just feel unbearable up here during the summer. But when you have corn that looks like that and it's so tight with the rows, dew points across the Midwest have actually increased over the last 20 years because of the way the corn is now grown. And like you said, it's tighter. It's much more dense. Well, that's a lot more moisture going in the atmosphere. So we actually think that it's influenced the weather. That studies are showing it could be helping to aid in heavier rain events that we've seen over the Midwest over the last 10 to 15 years. Climate change influences that too, but when you combine the two, that's why St. Louis maybe got 10 to 14 inches of rain. And we keep having these big rain events, like the one in West Tennessee a year ago that, claimed so many lives in that one small area where it went 20 inches overnight.
Right.
So we think these dew points, dew point is one ingredient for severe weather too. So these increased dew points, we think, actually influencing the weather.
Wow.
So your comment about the dense corn is true, and it may be influencing the weather. So,
right. It's fascinating, these different hybrids, these different breeds. And like you go to Missouri and the corn there, it's like so short.
Right.
Where the corn here is like so tall, it's...
Yeah, you can't even see my house from the bottom of the hill.
Right.
By the corn, because the corn is so tall.
Right.
And the way it angles, you can't see the house, which is funny because it's a tall house.
Right. It's tall as I know. It's hard to find your driveway.
Right.
I was like, oh my God.
I joke all the time, and I'm like, I live in the middle of a cornfield. I'm literally surrounded on all sides.
Yeah, you are. It's like Children of the Corn. It's like, wow, this is like a Stephen King movie.
And the critters come out, like coyotes and deer and raccoons and just, keep naming them.
Right.
But we see coyotes quite frequently. They'll be right on the edge of the corn and they'll just be looking,
Yeah.
And of course the deer.
Yeah, this is like a buffet for them. They love it.
Oh, man. Yes. We have a lot of deer. I counted 42 one night.
I bet.
Corner, and didn't even count those. There's more over there in that corner, but 42 deer is what we counted with the binoculars. That's crazy. It's like a herd of reindeer.
Oh. Yep. If Santa needs a new flock of deer, he knows where to go.
Right. Well, at least we don't have elk and moose. I mean, it could be worse.
That's true. That's true.
Moose can be like 8 feet tall. That'd be tall as a corn.
Yeah, I know. Hey, don't say that. We have armadillo now, so.
Yeah, so we've yet, knock on wood actually, because they're quite invasive. We have yet to see a one of those up here at the farm, but I know they're around.
Yeah, I saw they're on the interstate, and that's like over by my house right over there. I could probably see my house from here. I don't know.
We could do without those, and we could do without the feral hogs.
Oh my gosh.
Critters we don't need.
Yes, we don't want those guys around here.
So,
no, trash pandas. But anyway, okay. Here we are getting off course again. Well, Beau, thank you so much for letting me come over and do an interview with you yet again. You are always so wonderful to talk to us, with the library, and you do such a great job explaining things. And, as my grandpa always said, putting the bread on the lower shelf to where, people can understand and everyone understands. And this is just a fascinating tool that you have in your home. And I know everyone loves it. This is just such a, this tornado machine is just really cool. So
Thank you. And thank you.
we appreciate it. And we'll be seeing you guys. This is Beau Dodson, and we're signing off. Bye, guys.
Bye.